Alright, it was a big week for Guild Wars 2. The beta for the new weapons happened. The new weapons are one of the big features of Secrets of the Obscure, highly anticipated by the community and could make or break this expansion despite having a solid run so far. Speaking of solid runs, we're 1 month into the first patch, Through the Veil. By now I have fully trained the new mastery line, have done many, and I mean many, convergences. Not to forget, I cleared the challenge mode for Cosmic Observatory. What are the final impressions on Through the Veil, and how do the new weapons feel during the beta? Convergences were one of the big features they added for Through the Veil and should make it easier to collect your Cryptus essences for the legendary armor. Did they? Short answer, yes. Long answer is that convergences synergize extremely well with the final trait line in the new mastery track they added for this patch. Convergence Mastery. Even though the first 4 trait lines in the new mastery track are kinda duds, the final one more than makes up for it. Completing a successful convergence gives you a buff that gives more Cryptus essences when you're rift hunting afterwards. A successful convergence can net you up to a full stack of T1 essences as well as a sizable amount of T2 and T3 essences. The downside of convergences is that they take a long time to do. A failed convergence of a half hour stings and feels like a big waste of time. So, for the love of God, heal Zoja. At this point, I have also cleared the Cosmic Observatory challenge mode multiple times. Even though I enjoyed the CM, it is one of the more easier CMs so far. I would rank it as the second easiest strike CM. Only Junlai Junkyard is easier in my opinion. The CM has more intricate mechanics than normal mode, sure, but they are not that hard. For example, the green circle mechanic is not comparable to the green circles in Aetherblade Hideout, as you can just stack them. The feast mechanic, where one player is dropping damage pools, is the trickiest one, as the player who has it has to first notice it and then run out of the group and run circles. The drop pools also return to the player, so if the player walks back to the group, so do the damage puddles. In the end, the most difficult part about this CM is the DPS check. Dagda was already very bulky and normal, but when you're pugging this, you have to have all 10 players alive or you'll struggle clearing the DPS check. An enjoyable CM, but I do hope that the Temple of Febe CM poses a bigger challenge. They can't fuck up the new weapons. It's one of the pillars of Secrets of the Obscure and why a lot of people bought the X-Pack. If they screw up the weapons, it will leave a stain to a so far solid expansion. It seems that ArenaNet realizes this, because they didn't just add new weapons with random skills. Each weapon has a mechanic, team and idea to it in the same way that Elite Specializations had. Let's make this fun and rank the new weapons from worst to best now that the beta is over. Shortbow on Engineer is one that looked interesting during the preview. Shooting magic canisters that work somewhat like traps is definitely interesting, even more since you should combine the magic canisters when placed on top of each other. In practice, however, it's very disappointing. The damage ain't there. They don't feel good and it's outclassed by all of the other engineer weapons. So definitely some work needs to be done here. The Elementalist has never been an easy profession to add to. With its 4 elements, it's a clusterfuck to balance whatever you try. That being said, the gun feels very lackluster, visually disappointing and boring. On paper, storing the elemental bullets to fire them all for burst damage sounds cool, but in practice the damage just doesn't feel there, and it's a snooze fest to use. Staff on Warrior was a highly anticipated weapon. Warriors needed a support weapon. Ever since they retired the Banner Slave, Warriors have been struggling on the support front. That being said, the staff underwhelms. There are no combo fields and the attacks look boring, besides maybe the skill 5. Using the staff feels smooth, but I suspect Warriors expected more from the staff. During the preview before the beta hits, it was the Necro Swords that were the big winner. They looked very cool with visually impressive range attacks. The mechanic of high risk, high reward by giving up HP to do more damage fits Necro to a T. The beta, however, showed that swords need some work. Even though the attack still looks good, they feel clunky at times, and it's not clear if the damage is there. There's still a bunch of potential here though. Mesmer's rifle is a weapon that looks somewhat boring besides the portal shot, but will very likely have a big impact on Mesmer meta. As a support weapon, it should give the Mesmer the long-awaited healer build. Especially Chrono Healer is a big candidate to break the meta if the numbers are there. Maybe the most visually impressive weapon of the entire beta. Star Wars fans across all of Tyria will flock to the Revenant Scepter. Wielding your scepter as a giant lightsaber will probably make Scepter a fan favorite among the new weapons. However, the execution does feel clunky and the damage doesn't seem to be there. Nothing some tweaks can't fix though. If it wasn't for the number 5 charge shot skill, the Guardian guns would be visually rather boring. The volley shot feels really fun. The volley shot can also hit multiple enemies, making it very interesting for World vs World especially, but also PvE events with big number of enemies. The Ranger Mace combination. Since it's my main profession, I spent the most time on this. I really like the idea of building up nature strength until 6 stacks and becoming a force of nature. Visually it looks cool as well, as it actually makes you huge. It's just a shame that it's so short. You can barely enjoy or show off the effect, and it even has a cooldown. I would prefer Force of Nature being 10 seconds at minimum, with a equally long cooldown. If necessary, they could scale down the damage when in Force of Nature. The maces feels smooth, and main hand mace will almost surely replace axe on the Alacrity Heal Druid build. I could also potentially see a PvE open world build with maces as they combine support on main hand and damage on offhand. However much I enjoyed maces, the Thief's axe is probably the most fun of all of them. Even though you only get 3 main hand skills, it feels really good, throwing out multiple axes and then recalling them, cleaving your enemies. They feel really smooth, and if the damage is there, I could really see this as the winner for Thief. It's important to reiterate that this is a beta. A lot of these weapons, if not all, are subject to change. Hopefully for the better for some. Even though this is a beta, the new weapons are coming in a bit less than 3 months. Knowing that is somewhat worrying for weapons like Engineer Shortbow and the LE gun combination. The final verdict on the weapons will fall when patch 2 hits. Until next time.